Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, or you find a way to lose, or you find yourself in a situation like Terence Crawford where he's in a lose-lose situation if he fights Errol Spence in this rematch. Quite simple. One, I don't think the money's there for the rematch because the interest has kind of died down after Terence Crawford one-sidedly, just tranquilized Errol Spence. And then now with Errol Spence coming out with being a cyclops and the cataracts and everything else, right? So listen. What should Crawford do? I personally think some would disagree, but I just think Crawford should just fight Keith Thurman, I mean, forget it. Just go fight Keith Thurman. Nobody, aside from Pacquiao, and Pacquiao happened to land a little punch early in the fight, first round, but, you can see Keith Thurman start to pick up the pace. And this isn't an active Keith Thurman that was able to pick up the pace and put some serious hurt on Pacquiao. But the bottom line is this. Outside of Boots Ennis, which Crawford just does not want to fight him. He's looking for big money. I still believe Keith Thurman is a big fight for Terence Crawford. I still think there's some good money there. I understand Keith Thurman's inactivity. I understand how Keith Thurman's maybe very vulnerable to the body. I get it. When he fought Barrios, he got touched up a little bit. And the bottom line is the Keith Thurman who once fought Porter and Danny Garcia, we haven't seen that guy. But just understand this. Terence Crawford fighting Errol Spence. Outside of the fight taking place potentially at 154, what chance does anyone today, I'm talking about today, right, does give Errol Spence to win that fight? Even if Errol Spence is out there and all of a sudden now he's on his toes and floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee, right? Even if Errol Spence can do that at 154. I'm talking about Thurman. Crawford, he has pinpoint accuracy. And now there's a big bullseye on the big fish's face. Those eyes. So even if he's able to move around a little bit and kind of complicate Crawford in spurts, if Crawford is touching up that face enough, those eyes are going to close. That's what I think. I think basically it's going to be like with Miguel Cotto when he rematched Margarito and he was able to keep targeting that eye and that eye swelled shut and the referee stopped the fight. I think we could see that with Errol Spence if Crawford was to fight him. But with Keith Thurman, look, nobody stopped Keith Thurman. And Keith Thurman has actually called out Terence Crawford. Now, we understand Keith Thurman has wanted, ridiculous amounts of money. But with him coming out and just having a very simple pitch for Crawford and just saying, look, I know you're the better athlete. You beat Spence. You did your thing. But hey, look, I'm next. And I really think at this point in time, Keith Thurman should be next. He's like, y'all want to keep doing great fights. Y'all want to keep selling out. Y'all want to do these pay-per-views. I'm right here. I have no fear. I'm not flat-footed. Crawford's an amazing athlete. We grew up together in the amateurs. I watched him do all these great things in his career, and I salute that. But I'm going to tell you again, he's never fought an athlete like me. Spencer's never fought an athlete. Boxing is stick and move. You got to get in your groove, and Crawford got in his groove, and Spence tried to do simple stuff, and as a result, Crawford was able to tranquilize him. Now, I want to say this. I do believe that Thurman's making a point about sticking and moving and being an intelligent boxer. Even Crawford's team has admitted that Thurman would probably be a more difficult fight than Errol Spence, because Errol Spence is there to be hit. Thurman's not. And Thurman can punch while he's moving. So they recognize that fighting Keith Thurman is a fight with more risk than going in to fight an active Earl Spence. Now, so those of you who are Earl Spence fans or Terence Crawford fans, hey, look, chill, Bob Marley. I didn't shoot the sheriff. I'm telling you what Terence Crawford's camp said. So don't get mad at Hood Champion. Matter of fact, don't take it to the stupid hold your horses. Now, what I will say is, for Keith Thurman, just like the majority of people said, he's just not fighting enough. And I believe, and I think everyone would agree, there's going to be some ring rust on you, man. But Keith Thurman recognizes that. He's not delusional. He says, I just got to work, get back to work, get the ball rolling, and just do what I've done like always. And it sounds like Keith Thurman wants to continue making the biggest and baddest exciting fights in the welterweight division. But I'm going to be honest with you. What's stopping him from really getting back in the ring? That's what I want to know. Is it family? Is it that he's not getting the purses he wants? Are fighters turning him down? You know, I don't know. But I can tell you right now, as far as the opportunities for Keith Thurman, I think those opportunities are becoming, less and less. For Keith Thurman to go into a fight with Terence Crawford, that would be considered a super fight. Not because of Keith Thurman necessarily, but because of Terence Crawford. But right now, nobody really knows what direction Crawford's career is going. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when it comes to Terence Crawford and chasing this Canelo fight, I don't know if that's getting closer. I don't know if that's getting away from Terence Crawford. Crawford, we know he's not fighting Boots. You know, the Tim Tszyu, is that getting closer? Is that getting away? Jamel Charlo and everything going on in his personal life, is that getting closer? Is that getting away? What the hell's going on with Terence Crawford? Now, I'll tell you this, Terence Crawford knows what's going on. But when they get quiet like that, that means that there's something in works. And I do believe the plan right now is still to fight Earl Spence. I think Earl Spence Crawford, I don't think the money is quite there like it was for the first fight. But I think it's still more money there in the rematch than Crawford fighting Keith Thurman. But as far as the suspense, the intrigue, I think there's more surrounding a fight, Crawford against Keith Thurman. Now, I hear people saying, man, Hood Champion, there you go, talking about Keith Thurman again. Look, I just think stylistically, that is a great fight. I think he should fight Boots personally, but he doesn't want to fight him. Earl Spence, I don't think anybody cares to see that. Because Crawford won't get credit for beating him. Now, Cody Crowley, who wants to see that? Santion, who wants to see that? I mean, come on, let's be real. Crawford against Stan Eunice. I mean, interesting, but who really wants to see that? Crawford against Mario Barrios. You understand? Crawford against Keith Thurman. You see how that has a nice ring to it? A real nice ring to it. So I really think for Terence Crawford, man, I just think that's the direction he should go. You look at these guys at 154. I mean, again, you just don't know what direction these guys are going. But Mendoza's not a big name necessarily, man. Lubin is an all right fight for these guys. But the big stuff that Crawford wants, I'm telling you right now, if it's not Canelo, if it's not Jamel Charlo, if it's not Tim Tszyu, and he's not fighting Boots. But the biggest name out there that seems to be available that Crawford hasn't really said much about, but I think outside of Earl Spence and the rematch, I think it's Keith Thurman. I think that's a fight that they can make. But I understand people like, nah, man, Keith's been out too long. I get it. But I bet you that fight would sell. But Keith Thurman got to get. I think maybe Keith Thurman had a good fight against a guy like let's say Keith Thurman came back. I think he and Crawford should just fight now. But if Keith Thurman came back and knocked out Stan Eunice, because really that's a fight that could happen. Although you keep hearing rumors about Barrios and Boots Ennis, nobody's talking about Stan Eunice because Stan Eunice could be about to fight Keith Thurman. Let me show you something. This right here is the WBA. The WBA is rack and stack. You got Terence Crawford, who we all know is supposed to be fighting Earl Spence in a rematch. If it's not Earl Spence, nobody knows what the hell Terence Crawford's going to do. You got Barrios and Boots Ennis, the IBF and WBC, where it is they're supposed to be fighting. And then you got Stanley Eunice over here in the breeze. Absolutely no talk about him. He already fought Butiev, who's ranked number 3. You know it's not Earl Spence. But out of this number 1 and number 2 name, why not Keith Thurman? And that's what Keith Thurman wants. If he comes and he can clip Stanley Eunice, Keith Thurman is right back in the mix. But that's easier said than done because Stanley Eunice is an Olympian and he can fight. He can really fight. So that being said, we're just having a conversation. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not sure what direction Terence Crawford's going. I'm not sure what direction Earl Spence is going. All this shit is up in the air. The welterweight division, I would say it's still hot, but man, it's done cooled off because of the inactivity. When's the last time you seen Cody Crowley fight? Who the hell is Giasov? Last time you seen Jamal James fight? Josh Taylor's up there now. Alexis Rocha got tranquilized. When's the last time you seen these guys really making noise? Evander Cian just totally disappeared from the scene. You understand? So for me, it's crazy. It's that the 147-pound division isn't that hot right now. 140 is what's popping right now. But these other guys, you got Gabriel Master, Rata Butiev hasn't fought since he fought Stanley Eunice, Jin Sasaki, Conor Walker, Derek Cuevas. You got all these names on here, man, and you ain't really seen these guys fight. Since Roman Villa lost to Bucinis, he hasn't returned. Chikhadzian hasn't returned. So Adrian Broner's in the rankings, but who knows what he's doing? Like he's back in training to try to have a fight. But it's cooled off. It's cooled off. The welterweight division was super hot when it was Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, and Porter out there getting busy. Then you had that wave of Earl Spence, Crawford making noise, and Boots Centers bubbling up. But then everybody else who was kind of coming up too, they kind of fizzled off. So really, at the welterweight division, there's really no one there. But you can't even say Crawford and Spencer there because they look like they want to be at 154. All you really got is Boots and Thurman. Really. Anyway, man, I don't know. For me, it's frustrating because I really would like to see Thurman fight, but they can't make him fight. And I would really like to see Crawford in huge fights, but he can't make people fight him. So, hey, if anything, go ahead and clip the guy that Earl Spence couldn't clip, that Porter couldn't clip, that Danny Garcia couldn't clip. Go clip him if you don't want to fight Boots. And I think that still carries some weight. A victory over Keith Thurman, especially if he knocks him out, I think that carries some weight. But people are still going to say, oh, well, Keith Thurman was washed up. He was basically semi-retired. He just came out for the payday. Bud doesn't get any credit. So Terence Crawford's in a bad spot. He may need to do like Mike Tyson and talked about it. He may need to pay somebody to go wrestle a gorilla or fight a gorilla or some shit because Crawford's just in a horrible, horrible spot, man. Fights Earl Spence, he's not going to get credit this rematch. He fights Keith Thurman, he won't get credit. If he fights Boots and he beats him, I think he gets some credit, but still, Boots, people say he's never really fought on the big stage. If he fights Barrios, you can say Barrios is a small guy. You know what I'm saying? If he fights Stanley Eunice and beats him, they're going to say Stanley Eunice was inactive. Crawford's just in a bad spot. He really needs to go up to 154 and try to pick up a Tim Tszyu or someone else, but it's almost like he's being put in a position to almost go out there and lose. Because now you got to go fight guys who, are bigger than him. And I get it. Crawford probably walks around about 170, but Tim Tszyu probably walks around bigger than that. And I don't know, man. We'll see what ends up happening. But I just think Keith Thurman is that wild card. And for Terence Crawford's team to recognize the threat that Keith Thurman brings to the ring, that tells me that that's a fight that may have some money behind it. But then again, what do I know, right? I'm just having a conversation. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.